Captain's Log, Episode 30. This week's episode of the Beer Vengers podcast is sponsored by Astoria Beer and Cheese Ditmars, located at 35-11 Ditmars Boulevard in Astoria, Queens. Enjoy the eclectic array of craft beer, artisanal cheeses, and specialty grocery items at Astoria Beer and Cheese Ditmars, home bar to yours truly, Captain Porter Brown Stout. This week, the Captain and Huck welcome our Wisconsin correspondent, Beer Wonder, for a deep look at the evolution and current state of craft beer in the land of cheese and cows. We also explore the connection between beer and cannabis culture, and even take a glimpse at the Oscar race. Remember to like, star, and subscribe us whenever that feels appropriate. And send us your emails at thebeervengers@gmail.com if you have any questions, suggestions, or if you just like hearing us talk about you on the show. And now, without further ado, please enjoy episode 30. Go Midwest, young wonder.
Well, we're the beer Vengers, beer Vengers, beer Vengers. We're the Beer Vengers.
Welcome to the Beercast, everyone. Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Astoria, Queens, I am Captain Porter Brown Stout.
And coming to you from an undisclosed location on the west side of Manhattan town, this is the Pale Male Hophead Huck.
And coming to you from an undisclosed location in the county of Dorr in Wisconsin, it is I, the Beer Wonder!
And we are
The Beer Vengers.
Oh. Hey, that was good.
That's good. We're the Beer Vengers, everyone. Welcome, Mr. and Mrs. America and all the ships at sea and whatever else you Beer Vengers out there are calling yourselves these days. Welcome once again. It is just the three of us because Beer Wonder is pulling double duty this week. But we'll get to more of that after the pours. Also, hey guys, I know this is going to be released next week, but we are recording this on April 20th. So happy 420.
Happy 420, everybody.
Yeah.
It's a good day, y'all. It's a good day.
It is, and in fact, the traditional good things of 420 being a good day are a little bit damped down by the other much more important thing that happened on 420 this year. I'm talking about the George Floyd
verdict.
The verdict, yeah.
That just came out this afternoon, and it's a step.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's an important step. Anyway, though, but I guess enough of all of this. Let's get to the pours, guys.
Heck yes.
I think so.
What do we do?
I don't know.
I got a great beer.
Okay, great. Yeah. Oh my goodness, Huck. Would you please go first?
Absolutely. I want Huck to go first.
We've been trying to get more Connecticut. It would only be polite.
It would only be polite.
We're trying to get more Connecticut going. This is a Synopsis Cranberry Blood Orange Sour Ale from Area 2, which is part of Two Roads Brewing in Connecticut. Two Roads is quite a big brewery, but Area 2 is where they're doing all their experimentation with their sours. So we're going to give this little baby a shot. They do a series of synopses, and this is also built nicely for left-handed people. It's got the label on both sides for the pictures.
Double-sided.
And I hope to get some nice flavors out of this. Got the old Teku out.
Beautiful.
Here we go. Oh, there she is.
Oh my god. Okay. So this is very red, red. And good, but a very creamy white head. Although bigger bubbles, I'm noticing. So it's going to have kind of a higher carbonation level.
It's effervescent.
There's a lot happening.
Like got a real cherry Kool-Aid kind of look to it.
Yeah.
At least on the computer. I got to look at it in real life. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's got a nice color to it. All right. Very good.
Cherry Kool-Aid is an excellent way to describe this beer. Well done.
Definitely getting that orange on the nose.
Wow.
All right. Go ahead, gentlemen.
I guess, shall I go next?
Go for it, yeah.
All right. Well, the beer I have tonight just happens to be
Sponsored pour.
That's right. It's a sponsored pour from Astoria
Wow.
Beer and Cheese Ditmars in Astoria, Queens, 35-11 Ditmars.
We know them.
If you've been following their Instagram, you may have noticed they've been doing a big Fifth Hammer promotion. They gave away a whole bunch of. I think they gave away $100 gift certificate. They gave away a whole bunch of. They get some Fifth Hammer beer. They also gave some Fifth Hammer swag and some maybe Astoria Beer and Cheese swag. And I saw that, and I went in the other day, and I said, Ryan, like, I think you need to load me up with some Fifth Hammer beer. So he gave me some really good ones that I'm going to be sharing with you guys soon. But the one I'm going to have today is from their Imperial Stout Slice series.
Ooh.
It's the Marble Slice.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Clocking in at 12.5% ABV.
Oh, bless it.
It's an Imperial Stout with chocolate and peanut butter.
Love that PB.
Oh, that's delicious.
Here we go. And
Good crack. Really good crack.
Certainly is.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
There we
beautiful. Nice dark one there. Very little head growth. So with a
That's
12%er, that's probably what you'd expect.
Right, and this is a pretty fresh beer, too.
Mm-hmm.
They just got the shipment in directly from the brewery the other day, so there we have it.
Oh, very nice. All right. Well, I guess it falls to me to wrap up this trio. And since I am on location, I do have a very special beer for you. I have got the one and only New Glarus Brewing Company Spotted Cow. A noted
you got the
Wisconsin
cow.
Exactly, a notable Wisconsin beer. In fact, rare in other parts of the country because it can only be acquired here in the state of Wisconsin. It is illegal to sell it anywhere else. So I figured it would be a good one for us to enjoy this week. So let's do a pour, shall we? We're using borrowed glassware this week.
Oh, very good. So, no, wait, I'm sorry. What was the genre of that one? Is that
so this is. So what you're looking at is qualified as a farmhouse ale.
Farmhouse, okay, makes sense.
So
there's the cow connection, yeah.
Yes, the cow exactly. But it's got a nice
straw color there.
Good straw color, decent head retention even in this glass here.
Yeah.
And of course, a cow on the label, which is always a good time.
Oh, very good.
So,
Yeah, all right.
All right.
Now, was that hard to get a hold of?
It is not a difficult thing to get a hold of in the state of Wisconsin. New Glarus is sort of very abundant here. But if you are outside of the state of Wisconsin, it is not legal to buy it or serve it. So,
Wow.
Exactly, the forbidden beer. Well, cheers,
All right, well,
gentlemen.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Slancha, Kampai, and all the rest. Very good. Well, that's nice. It's curious. The peanut butter is strong, but it doesn't overpower the chocolate. Which is I mean we've talked before that I know, Huck, you're pretty huge into the peanut butter. I can go either way, but this is nice. I think you might like it even more than I do.
All right. Well, I know I love that coffee brown you gave me. Oh my gosh, that was so good.
Oh, the one from Surly.
From Surly,
yep.
Speaking of Minnesota, yeah, that was great. And it was funny that I didn't realize it was had been in the can a while. It's from October. So I was like, well, we'll see what happens. And it was just like, wow, so good. That was a killer. That's like one of my favorite beers. We were sitting here. I was with the Mother Pucker and Cider Girl and the Non.
Yes, the non.
And we were trying different beers. And like, that one's okay. That was okay. And we got that coffee bender, and I was like, oh yeah. And I was really, my foot was in bad shape that day, and I was like, oh my God. They're like, oh, he's alive.
So really, is that on the can? It had been there since October?
Yeah, it was on October.
That's wild, because I just ordered it a couple months ago.
I know.
I had heard that some of the tap room, they do have a bit of a reputation for some of their beers hanging around for a while,
right? And that can be okay as long as it's not one of these hazy IPAs or even regular IPAs.
Yeah, although I think that they are responding to that controversy a little bit, because I think you can actually look up how old the beer is when you order it on their website or their app.
Oh,
that
very cool.
Having said that, the Cosmonaut I'm saving for you is one of the ones that I got from Astoria Beer and Cheese recently. So we will not have that problem with that one. Again, that's also a Russian Imperial Stout, so
yeah,
that'll
hold well.
an issue.
Yeah, those will age.
Well.
Those will age absolutely beautifully. So
New Glarus, they're one of the older craft breweries. Yeah.
Yeah, they go there. I believe they're listed as like the 17th or 50th. Excuse me, it's the 50th largest craft brewery and 25th largest overall brewery in the United States by sales volume. So they're pretty old. I mean, they go back to '93, so they're not
93. Yeah, that's a good age.
Yeah, they're pretty old in that sense. And the one that I am drinking, this is their top seller, the Spotted Cow. It is a beer that was first brewed in 1997, and they describe it as a cask conditioned farmhouse ale. So
cask
it's sort of
conditioned.
Exactly. Yep. And it adheres to Reinheitsgebot purity regulations, using only 4, hand selected, all natural ingredients: yeast, hops, water, and malted barley. And they let the yeast remain in the bottles, which gives it that sort of cloudy characteristic.
I gotcha.
So it's a pretty sort of it is one of the best known beers in Wisconsin. It is a beer that that you can find at many places that have beer. In fact, I was picking up food at a restaurant here a couple nights ago, and it was a restaurant that didn't have a particularly good beer selection. All the big boys that we're familiar with, but they also had Spotted Cow. So it sort of is like a standard bearer beer. Especially in the state of Wisconsin, and coveted by people who spent time here. So if you were a college student at, the University of Wisconsin system in Madison, a lot of people continue to look for that sort of out in the world. It's very creamy. And I think that that's something that people sort of note about it. It's got that, you can take a look, it's got tiny little bubbles here, really tight foam head. So you get that really creamy mouthfeel as a part of it.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so it does have this kind of it has the feeling of being cream ale, and a lot of people will call it that because of the way it tastes and feels, but it's a little bit more on the fruity, malty side of things. You really get that distinct flavor from it. So it's a little sweet, and it's got that sort of farmhouse kick characteristic. I don't specifically know what kind of casks they're using for the conditioning, but it does kind of have a little bit of a syrupy feel to it. Very delicious, very easy drinker. Comes in, I think, just under 5%, 4.8%. So, goes down really easy. And also, only to be found in the state of Wisconsin. In fact, when I first moved to New York, there was a notable bust in 2009. I had heard underground tell of a bar that was selling Spotted Cow in the city, and it is very illegal. And so people who had a connection to Wisconsin were going to this bar to get it, and the bar got busted. I'm pretty sure it was in Williamsburg, but we'll have to check that on the hookups next week. But notably, also, there have been busts that have happened in Minnesota, so it's kind of a rarity, which is why I felt important to bring it to the beer cast today.
Yeah, absolutely. Something you can't get anywhere else. That's the great thing about having our regional representatives, which you are temporarily this week.
Temporarily, yes. Saving people from bad beer in Upper Wisconsin.
What I'm finding even more so I guess it sounds like that one is it's a very unique take on the farmhouse. I mean, it sounds like it has the flavor profile of it, but that cream sort of adds its own unique stamp on that genre.
Yeah, the creaminess for me, this does set it apart. I mean, I think I knew this was a farmhouse ale, and then I had other farmhouse ales that are more traditional. I'm kind of looking a little bit at like what Transmitter does.
Yeah.
And those have a definitely more of a bite and a kick to them. You can tell a little bit of that Brett feel to it. This one is much creamier. So it's even easier to drink and pretty accessible. Some people love it. Like, people do drive over the borders to try and get it. It's like a coveted thing for surrounding states. But other people are just sort of fine with it. And if you like a hoppier beer, this is probably not going to be your favorite because the hops are incredibly subtle. I mean, I can barely taste them. Right. It's really all about the malt. It's really about the farmhouse taste. And it's really all about that cream feel.
All right.
But delicious.
Sounds like a winner, yeah.
Yeah, but Huck, we got to get the full report on this cherry Kool-Aid beer you've got here.
It definitely doesn't taste like cherry Kool-Aid. It's an interesting combination because cranberry is a real tart berry, and blood orange isn't necessarily the sweetest orange, right? I like a blood orange, but you really get more of that orange peel flavor. So it is a very tart sour ale. They say it's a wild ale, which I believe means it's open air fermentation. That's something we can check in the hookups.
Mhm.
unless you want to make that
I'll
as a
take a
correct
quick look.
statement.
I'll take a quick look.
But they do it, and they do a bunch of ones in different flavors. And I did grab it. I went to a place in Mystic, Connecticut, which is somewhere where we always stop on our Cape Cod trips. We don't always, but that's like kind of our halfway point, get gas. And we actually go to McDonald's, which is something that we don't normally do in real life. But
No.
when you're in a car
Or in an airport.
So now it's starting to become traditional. I go get my filet of fish with no tartar sauce, which is what I always had as a kid.
My bank has its ATMs at McDonald's, so
yeah, that's
what
right.
I go to McDonald's for.
Yeah,
no, it's funny. Mystic, Connecticut always reminds me that the growing up in Ohio, the first time I ever heard of Mystic, Connecticut was the early Julia Roberts film Mystic Pizza.
of course.
Little movie called Mystic Pizza.
Yes.
I've had.
Do people still know that movie? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they know the pizza. I mean, it's a good pizza place.
Oh, it's a real place.
Yeah, we went a few years ago. Yeah, I think we've been a couple times. I mean, it's good. It's not like, it's a solid New York style pizza. Yeah, it's good.
Excellent.
And we got old Mystic Village there. It's like an old timey village on the Sound.
Yeah,
Long Island Sound. That is.
It's nice.
Anyway, I found this little packy, as we would say in Massachusetts, a package store. And they did have a lot of good Connecticut beer, but everything was IPA. So I was like,
yeah.
And they didn't have single cans, but they had this in a single can. So that's why I grabbed it. Because we got to rep Connecticut a little more. Now I'm out of Connecticut beers now though. So they're on their own.
Well, good job, Connecticut.
We
doing your work.
Anyway, it's tart. It's very tart.
If anybody in Connecticut would like to send us some beers, just reach out to us at thebeervengers@gmail.com or find us on Instagram, and we will happily accept your beers.
There you go. And that effervescence is
oh yeah, it's gone away real
quickly. I think this is a clean glass.
Do you feel? Does it feel effervescent? Do you get that intense, like bubbly action in your mouth? Or,
yeah.
Okay.
It's still, but I get more of the tart fruit flavors especially in the finish.
Sure.
And I even get that orange peel, like sometimes you bite into the peel, it gets that little sour flavor.
Oh yeah,
on an orange peel. I'm getting that, and the cranberry. I'm trying to read this date. I know it's not super current. It's hard to read. It's like stamped. Like here.
Oh yeah, down at the bottom. Oh, I love it when they stamp on the bottom.
It's on the side though.
Oh, it's on the side. Okay.
But I can read it. 11. There's an 11.
I feel like we're making out some sort of cryptic
52.
code.
I don't know. It's good. It's not my favorite, but it's good.
I don't always check for that, but since we're doing that now, which I think that actually could be, we should talk about that more. Mine is March 11th.
Okay.
This year.
Yeah. So very fresh.
That.
It's interesting. This one is I like it. I don't know if it's my favorite from this series. Mostly probably because of the peanut butter. I am
right.
Like I said, that's why I think you like it more than I would. But the chocolate is very, very present as well. So I'm enjoying it. When I said their slice series, they've just had a number of beers in a row with the word slice in it that are all imperial stouts. The other ones being Nilla Slice, Home Slice, and Dark Slice. In fact, if you wonder, when we visited there a couple months ago, I think Dark Slice is the one that I took home a 4-pack of, and I like that one very much. Probably a little bit better than this one, but this one is still really. If this is your flavor profile, I think you'll really like this beer.
Yeah, I remember we had a PB&J stout when we were there a couple years ago.
Yeah,
which was very tasty.
Well, Huck, I did just want to bust in with some late-breaking facts about wild ales.
Please.
Generally, they are characterized by the introduction of using a yeast or bacteria in addition to Saccharomyces cerevisiae for fermentation. So generally, yes, it could be either artificially introduced or it could be done using the cool ship as you're describing. And many breweries that do really excellent wild beer or wild ales, especially American wild ales, will use that cool ship, which they just lay out in an apple orchard, and whatever shows up, shows up.
Right.
So yes, you are correct on all accounts, sir.
Well, this area too, they built specifically so they could do these experimental beers because they had such success at Two Roads, and I always wondered how they got so big so quickly. And the reason is, or one of the reasons, is that they became contract brewers for other. They had a lot of space, so they were able to. And one of the ones they famously contracted was Sip of Sunshine from Lawson's, which was one of the most popular IPAs in Vermont at the time, and then it became more of a wider market once they started doing that. And then they were able to just do what they want as far as experimentation. One of the beers that I love from them a lot, the captain has probably had this, is the Expressway Stout. Not Expressway, it's all their beers have either two or roads puns.
Expressway sounds.
Expressway Stout is AleSmith, or espresso.
I see.
Because it's a coffee.
Like,
it's a coffee stout.
Yeah.
And it's one of the best coffee stouts I've had. If I see it on the menu, I get it. Much like the reaction I had to that coffee bender. I always, I had it on Nitro a couple years ago down the Cape. I was like, this is so good. It's one of my favorites. So Two Roads are still making good stuff.
Yeah. As it should be. We want good things for our favorite brewers, for sure.
What was I going to look? I was going to take a look at that, but all right, there you go.
Yeah, now you got me a little curious. I'm looking up on Untapped on my list there of the thousands of beers I have listed on there.
What's crazy is ever since I decided that I love that beer, I can never find it.
Huh.
Isn't that always how it is, though? Huh?
They put it up on the Instagram. They say, we got another release. I'm like, great. When's it going to be here? And it never shows up in the city.
Okay, I found it. It's called Espressway.
Espressway.
Yes. I most recently had that in August 6, 2018. At least that's the last time I recorded it.
That's probably around the time I had one, too.
Gave it 4.25 stars.
Hey, that's not bad.
And I also had a really good one from them also several times between 2014 and 2018. And that's Igor's Dream.
Yes.
Which is a Russian Imperial Stout, 10.9%. So for whatever reason, I don't know why this is coming up in the search for Two Roads. They want to show me some of the Even More Jesuses, so I don't know if they ever collaborated with them on that.
They may have. Well, with the Connecticut distribution, there might be a connection there.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's funny. We talk about the various Connecticut things, and I know you've mentioned more than once that 12% is out of Connecticut, but I keep seeing Brooklyn turning up when I'm looking them up these days.
Interesting.
So I wonder if they have offices in both places.
Maybe. I know that most of the beers got out of North Haven, Connecticut.
Yeah.
And I think they're brewing there too. Some brew there. I'm not sure who brews there.
Yeah, it might have even been the Oh Fuck Yeah My Dude.
Oh fuck yeah my dude.
12% Brooklyn. Dude. Yeah. Oh Fuck Yeah My Dude.
Delicious and magical beer. Fills my soul in so many ways. Oh boy.
So now Beer Wonder, you've been there for when did you get to Wisconsin?
Yes, so I am on location coming to you from the Upper Midwest in First Adventures. So I have been here in the Upper Midwest since this past Sunday. So this is kind of like my second and a half, third-ish full day here because I got in nice and early. And being lucky enough now to have had both of my COVID vaccines and finding out that my parents also have had both of their COVID vaccines, we decided we wanted to meet up and see each other because, as with many of us, it's been a while since we've seen our loved ones. However, my parents did not want to be staring at the four walls of their home and the home that I grew up in any longer. And so we agreed to meet in Door County, which is a place where I spent my summers when I was in college working in a state park. And so it's an area that I know pretty well and that they know pretty well. And so they drove over. I flew into Green Bay, go Packers. And then we drove up the peninsula and are now hanging out in the county of Door.
I'm looking at the map now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's way up there. It is the tiny little thumb on the side of Wisconsin. It sticks
like
right
a real
out.
pure peninsula.
Oh yes, it's right there. It like just sticks right up.
Into Lake Michigan, that is.
Indeed, yes, into Lake Michigan. And we are currently in, I think it's a friend of my parents who have like a little cabin up here.
That was getting me a
So
question. I thought you got an Airbnb kind of deal or something.
no, it's someone, a friend of my folks that has a space up here and that they were
Oh, great.
kindly willing to lend us. So we've been enjoying ourselves. There's a lake and a little nature preserve, so I've been enjoying the joy of nature and breathing fresh air that is a little bit different than our Gotham. And of course, getting a new selection of beer because one of the joys of beer is that it tends to be fairly regional, right? We
Yeah,
know
because they've got a lot of breweries out there, don't they?
yeah, they do. In fact, I mean, while right now the top brewing state in the country is California, but that probably has something to do with their size as well.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest. Wisconsin is no joke in terms of brewing. They have over 200 breweries, close to 205 at the last count that I could find, in the state of Wisconsin. And of course, we know Wisconsin, right, as the beer state because we get our
Right.
dear friends PBR from places like this, and you've got the brewers in Milwaukee. But
Miller is based out of Wisconsin,
based here,
right?
yep,
Yeah.
is local to here as well. But there is a fairly hefty brewing culture in the state of Wisconsin, and it goes all the way back to the 1800s. In 1840, there was a Welshman who created the very first brewery in all of Wisconsin, and then it continued to grow as German immigration came here.
Right.
And so it's got a good brewing scene, and of course, as with all other places, there's some, interesting craft breweries that are starting to show up here. Now, have either of you spent time in Wisconsin?
I have not.
Okay,
And
no.
I've always liked people from Wisconsin, but the people I knew moved to New York. So
Yes, there is a definite Upper Midwest like expat community in New York. How about you, Captain?
Yeah, I've never really spent any time at all in Wisconsin. I'm trying to think. A little bit of Nebraska for a couple of weeks at one point.
Mhm.
But no, I've never spent any. I know I've passed through it, I think, but I have not spent any time in Wisconsin. But it sounds like a lovely place.
yeah, my
Yeah.
Midwest knowledge, and I mean I know stuff, but my visiting is the parts of the U.S. and Midwest is probably the least visited on my end. I've been
Yeah,
to
well,
Ohio. I recently
okay.
went to Indianapolis,
Okay.
but I've never even gone to Chicago outside the airport. Michigan, I haven't been to. Iowa, Minnesota. I just haven't been there.
Well, I mean, it's a lovely place. Lots
I'd
of
like to go.
open lakes, lots of cows, which I guess tracks given the dairy production in the state. But
Right.
in terms of like breweries that are here, it's mostly been German styles of beer, and which would make sense why New Glarus would be pushing Reinheitsgebot as the way that they approach the Spotted Cow. And I think New Glarus was one of the ones that really kind of put them on the map in terms of the craft beer scene because
Okay.
when they started in '93, of course, it was pretty early on in
That's
what we
early,
consider the craft beer movement. And while they're known for Spotted Cow, which came out, they do have a whole variety pack. In fact, the one that I'm drinking tonight came in a variety pack of different kinds of beers that they produce. And they've taken a really great holistic view to beer brewing, right? Not only are they an employee owned company, but if you go to the FAQs on their website, in addition to like, how do you book a tour and what kind of beers do you make and where do you get your beer? They also have 3 paragraphs on why they are in favor of universal healthcare.
Sure, that
Which
makes
is just
sense. Yeah.
delightful to see, right? Just absolutely delightful to see. But the like beginnings of brewing sort of in the state really came after Prohibition because, believe it or not, Gotham City was the home of brewing in the United States, really until Prohibition. In fact, we were putting out close to 75% of the beer in
New York.
in the entire United States. New York, yes. In
Wow.
fact, New York City. We were really the home of that. So if you look at parts of the Upper East Side, like German neighborhoods and like what is today Yorkville, lots of those areas had beer gardens and breweries, and production brewing was happening all the way out in parts of Williamsburg. And then as Prohibition clamped down and as we were able to do more refrigerated movement, a lot of brewing and the big kids that were able to survive the Prohibition, like our dear friends Miller and Anheuser-Busch, moved out to the Midwest. because
Right.
there's lots of space. You can make big breweries there, and if you've got a refrigerated train car, it's not that hard to get it to, you know, those of us who are still hanging out in New York City, what used to be the epicenter of beer
Yeah.
before Prohibition.
Yeah,
So they really picked up
Interesting.
after that. Mhm.
Yeah, I just remember for the longest time that Milwaukee was like the place. There was like
Mhm.
which made it always the funniest thing to me that since so many of the best breweries that existed of the time that Milwaukee was known for having good beer. So the
Mhm.
supreme irony was that one of the worst beers that I grew up with, that was the cheapest, most garbage beer that when you're old enough to drink beer but not old enough to afford decent beer, Milwaukee's Best.
Yeah.
Well, yes,
They
naturally.
called it
naturally.
Milwaukee's Best, and it is one of the worst beers that's ever been made.
And Old Milwaukee is also a classic bad beer.
Yeah, I would say that's more of a mid grade.
Well, because of Laverne and Shirley, I thought all beers were made in Milwaukee.
Yeah, of course.
That would
yeah.
track. That would make sense.
And then when somebody said Budweiser was out of St. Louis, I'm like, well, that's St. Louis, not Milwaukee.
Yeah,
Isn't that where beer is made?
And then of course Coors is from Colorado.
Yeah, so that didn't completely track. Now I'm looking at my map of Door County here, and I see the peninsula, but it looks like much like Cape Cod, they've turned it into an island. There's a small canal. They split it.
There is a small canal that separates, and then there is actually an island at the very, very tip. I believe it's called Washington Island, which
neat.
is way up at the top. But we are closer to Bailey's Harbor, and I meant to double check the name of this because there is a brewery here in Bailey's Harbor that is on the list of adventures to have here while we're up there. Let me just check the name one more time. But it is known as, well, there's the Door County Brewing Company Taproom and Music Hall, of course, but there is another brewery up here, and I will, Hacienda Brewing Company, that's it. So they've got those sort of pockets of brewing up here, but Door County, at least for me personally, is notable because this is where I happened to be when I turned 21.
Aha.
Now, naturally, I had had beer before that. But my first legal drink, which was of a beer, did happen in Door County. And so it's kind of special to be bringing a little bit of that love to you guys. It was an okay beer. I don't think it was super mass produced. I couldn't tell you what it was. But I distinctly remember being very proud of like my first beer being here in Door County, Wisconsin.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not document my first legal beer. It was before the age of 21.
Yes.
We talked about that for a while.
Yeah.
No, it was because this was like right when they were phasing it out.
Right.
It was at that point in Ohio, the drinking age was for beer. This is weird. They had a separate one for beer and for liquor. But the drinking age for beer, I think, probably had been 18 at one point, but now it had been 19 for a little while. And I got just over the cutoff.
Oh, okay.
So and they didn't take it away from me, but once they raised it to 21 after I turned 19, they raised it to 21. But anyone who was already 19 got grandfathered in.
Now I had a legal beer at 18.
Okay.
Because I went to school in North Adams, Massachusetts, and that was right near the Vermont border where when I was 18, it was the drinking age was still 18 in Vermont. So we went to I wish I'd remembered the name of the beer. I'm sure it might have just been Bud. I don't know. We crossed the border and found this bar, and I proceeded to get absolutely hammered, and like so badly that I was throwing up a lot. And this was just like the first month at school. It was like the beginning and the end for me. But that was my first legal beer. And it was like $1, dollar beers. It was like so cheap. And oh man. But turning 21.
Right up there with Milwaukee's Best.
Yeah. When I turned 21, my friend Tango and he and I had birthdays 3 days apart in the middle of July. And so we had a massive party at our house.
Yes.
We were doing children's theater at the time, and oh man, that was a blast. That party was out of control. I don't think I threw up that night either. That was good. But I forget what beers they were. We did have a beer. What was it called? Not a Heffenreffer. Do you remember that?
I do
Captain?
remember. Yeah, I do.
It had a little puzzle under the bottle cap. It was usually a 20-ounce bottle, and it was like this, almost. I guess it was like a malt liquor.
I feel like I know the name of the beer more than I know the actual beer.
Well, we used to drink a few of those, and they would get you. I mean, they'd get you drunk fast. They were really strong. They weren't necessarily good, and they were strong. And they would have the puzzles. Beer Wonder. They had like concentration, like the pictures, and you had to figure out what the phrase was. And of course, you're so wasted. You spend hours just looking at this bottle cap.
Right.
You got to look that up. What was that called?
It's interesting. I love the fact that with the three of us on here, we're all getting some either previously seen or maybe a few unseen parts of our origin story.
Yeah, I mean, there we go. And here's the thing: I'm glad that we're filling in these parts of those important histories that bring us to where we are. Oh, what is this? Oh, now we've got private stock, is what.
That's the Heffenreffer.
Heffenreffer private stock.
40 ounce. It's a 40, not a 20. So this is like one of the original 40s. You know, it was a Boston brewer, established in 1870. It was brewed in Boston. Heffenreffer private stock. It was a malt liquor. It ceased production in 2013.
Oh wow!
But before that, that was like one of those beers that you just had to get every once in a while. I mean, I remember it didn't taste good. They called it the Green Monster, Heffenreffer, the Green Death. Yeah, that was some beer. Golly.
I know. Excellent. Well, keeping with our Midwest theme, to the shock of everyone, the Beer Wonder has a second beer tonight.
A second pour for the Beer Wonder.
Exactly.
This is only the second time this has ever happened, I think.
I know it's a big moment.
This is episode 30, and in 28 episodes you did not.
He's on vacation.
That's
I know.
Obviously, no, I'm not. Oh, I'm reveling in this. I think it's. I know. Wonderful.
Well, honestly, the last second pour I had was actually a beer that I brewed. So this is like
that's right.
It's a monumental moment.
Gonna have a second pour, yeah.
So I again am getting to spend some time with my family, which is really exciting because we've all been so separated from each other. But when I was chatting with my father and I told him, we're going to be taping when we're together in Wisconsin, he was like, "Oh, well, I've got a fun beer for you to bring on the podcast." So This is the father of Beer Wonder recommendation, and he tells me it is one of his favorite beers. It is from a very small brewery in Minneapolis, and it is called Price Brewing, and this is the Price Miraculum Midwest IPA, which is also a style we have not yet had a chance to check.
Miraculum.
Yes. So, in honor of the father of Beer Wonder, let's check this bad boy out, shall we? All right, here we go.
Oh, it's got that dark West Coast style.
Yep.
Color.
Really, really good West Coast color. Decent head retention.
Yeah. Oh yeah, good pour.
But a wildly fruity nose.
Okay.
And that's what's interesting, because as I dug deeper, because we all know the difference between East Coast and West Coast, right? Like we all know East Coast.
I think we've covered that by now. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody, hopefully, if you haven't, you can go back and just listen to me yap about this probably on every episode.
And you should. We have a full archive at thebeervengers.com.
Yeah. But what the Miraculum Midwest IPA, which is a style that is starting to grow here in the middle of the country, defines themselves as a unique combination of citrus hop flavors and a smooth malty finish, the perfect balance between hoppy West Coast and malty East Coast beers. So they are trying to have it both ways.
Yes.
And which tracks for the Midwest, because we like to find common ground usually, I guess, because we're right in the middle. But the nose is definitely all fruit, and the tongue is very bitter. And it is exactly the combination of the smell that you would expect of a fruity beer coming out of a New England style, but the bite and the kick that you would expect of something from the Midwest. So it's a confusing beer in that sense, in that I don't quite know what I'm getting, but it's lovely.
Yeah.
It's like delicious. And when this brewery, Price, was started by two lawyers who started brewing out of their garage and then built it into this thing, and it's apparently fairly well known in the Twin Cities. Whenever my father goes out for a beer, he will always go, and as a good extended member of our clan, he will try out a beer and want to try something new and add to it, and then he always winds up defaulting back to the beers that he knows, which in this case is the Price Miraculum. So I'm proud to say he's doing a good job, and I think this is a delicious beer.
I love that we're hearing more and more stories like that, because it's not surprising at all how many craft brewers started as home brewers.
Oh yeah, it's pretty common.
Well, it allows that kind of experimentation,
right?
And the ones that make it understand the business side of things. But it's great that we can, keep trying things out in our garages.
And on a related note, I was last night I was watching your roommate Ethan's show, who wrote the shit.
Yes.
Which my roommate Glenn will be on next week.
Yes, please watch.
So watch that. But I was having a bit of a, let's see. I wouldn't call it a full on argument, but a bit of I was talking to the Belgian babe, and we were spitballing about how your father might pronounce his name. His first name.
Interesting. That's a great question.
I have a very specific theory about how it should be pronounced.
Oh, you met the man.
And she had a theory about sometimes people spell it that way but pronounce it differently.
Oh, interesting.
So, how does he pronounce his name?
So the name is pronounced Emil.
That was okay. So I'm right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Not Emil or Emil. It's
no.
Emil.
Oh, yep. I've never heard Emil. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Emil was my theory. She was insisting that sometimes people spell it that way but pronounce it Emil. And I'm like, well, it should never be pronounced that unless there's an E on the end of it.
Yeah. No. And Emil is. I mean, this is the name sort of goes in a couple different ways, but that's specifically, and that is a generational name from my family going all the way back to the great lands of Italy. So going all the way back. So
and Emil is more French, right?
I guess it would be. I mean, here's once you start crossing those borders with those Romance languages, I'm sure it gets all confused.
I think of South Pacific.
Yeah,
Emile Debec.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Very, very French. But yes, I broke the mold in the family with my alter ego's E-based name, which ruined a generational family tree. But honestly, that's sort of what we are.
It's not your fault.
Well, the family line that landed in the Midwest sort of broke the mold in a couple different ways, which is not bad.
Times change.
Exactly.
All right. Well,
see, the captain has another.
Yeah, this is intriguing.
I took a trip down to my usual place. I know you heard a version of the song already, but I want to hear it again.
To the captain's cellar, yeah. We'll do the short version.
Okay, that's fine. If you want to hear the longer version, listen to other episodes. They're all available.
Literally any other episode.
Or go to iTunes and get our new single, Captain's Cellar.
Exactly, Captain's Cellar.
Yeah, 12-inch disc version.
Yes, so
the dance version.
Oh, yes. I can't wait for that one.
Which was great because one of these days I should just post all of us dancing to it because we always do. So as I mentioned earlier, it's 420. And we've never featured a North Carolina beer before.
Oh, good.
So in honor of both of those things, I went to my cellar and got something that I think I bought at Astoria Beer and Cheese sometime last summer.
Okay.
And it is from a brewery. It's gonna violate Huck's corporate brewery purity. Hey, you know what?
No, yeah.
You know what? I took care of that today. I got that covered.
You had Blue Point last week.
Yep.
You've done Goose Island on our barley wine, so we all do.
I might be ahead of the game. Yeah.
This is Wicked Weed.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah,
Wicked
fun.
Weed out of Asheville, North Carolina.
Mm.
And the name of the beer is Dark Age. And it is a bourbon barrel-aged imperial stout with
Oh,
coffee.
bless it.
And it's
Yes.
from a local coffee. Oh, man. This lighting here. I don't know. It's some mountain or something. But let me pour this beer. I'll get to the rest. It's a 14.1%, by the way.
Yeah.
So now and remember,
fuck yeah, my dude.
And remember,
Captain.
my first one was 12.5. So
Ooh, bless it.
here we go.
Bless it. Hashtag bless it.
All right.
Oh, see, that was a good bottle crack too.
It
yeah.
was. It was not a whole lot of air there, but all right, here we go. Yeah.
Whoa.
There we go.
I know I always say
That
Bordeaux,
is an
but this
imperial barrel-aged coffee stout right there.
one- yeah, that beer does not play around. It
Yeah, it's got a
Right.
really pretty caramel
quite
head
serious.
on
There
there.
we go. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my goodness. That just I kind of want to swim in it. Like I feel like it would give me pushback if I swum in it. Like they're gonna have that thickness and viscosity.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
it's got. I mean, right now the booze is hitting me stronger than the coffee, but the coffee's there.
Uh-huh.
It's strange. I tried to look these guys up a little bit online, didn't find a whole lot. But I mean, actually, they've got a lot of stuff on their website. But as far as this particular beer, I couldn't find a whole lot. Somewhere I read there was a version of it that had been aged in Heaven Hill barrels. Not sure about this one because it doesn't say so on the can. Okay, Mountain Air is the name of the coffee company out of Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
The other reason I couldn't find a whole lot on this beer was because, like everyone else, they're embracing the sour trend, and almost
Right.
everything on their website. This is from about a year ago. Everything else on their website seems to emphasize the sours and the IPAs, and I think they call their tasting room like the Funk House or something like that. So they're
That's
really super into the sours.
Leaning into that.
But this one is very nice.
All right. Well, I'm gonna join the party.
Oh
All
yeah.
right. Oh my goodness.
This is my friends at Kingston Standard
Oh
Brewing.
yeah. hmm
This is their Hellas Lager.
Oh my gosh, living that lager life once again.
Living the lager life. Hashtag
Oh, hell
lager
yeah.
life.
Hell
Hashtag-
yeah.
Crispy
Hellas, yeah.
chips. Hellas, yeah. Hellas, of course, means a pale lager. And this one's nice. Got some nutty notes to it. So it's good.
Okay.
I'll pour into
Ooh.
that pony glass.
Ooh.
And it's real light in color. As far as like pale lager, I mean, it is. That's paler than your usual pale. You know, that's pale. Looks like
Oh, yeah.
almost like a champagne in there. But
Ugh. But
Oh.
see that is a delightful drinking beer and crispy
it's got this
clear.
crazy mouthfeel, like
Mhm.
like this almost this like walnut mouthfeel that I get from it. It's so unique.
Ugh.
It's like an old school beer, you know, that we were talking about, those
Yep.
Milwaukee beers, but in the form of an artisanal craft lager, and it's very delicious. I like it quite a lot. My
Old
last
meets
one,
new. Oh my goodness. And I
That's
love
Kingston.
the tall
I'm
it looks like a tall, thin, straight sided can is what
yeah,
you've
it's
got
one of
going on
those
there.
like 6-point style cans, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a 12 ounce, but it's a rare, it's that rare shaped 12 ounce. I get the Beer Vengers in there.
Yeah, get that branding. Just since you can't see it, we're all wearing our Beer Venger shirts.
Here.
Much to the chagrin of
Yeah, let's.
one of our other Beer Vengers.
Are we gonna? Yeah, that was a fun show last week.
He's never getting a shirt. He shan't be invited
Never.
back either.
No, never.
Yeah, I'm.
It's
Who
easy to
knows?
say that because he's not listening.
Because we established that he doesn't listen to the shows, as far as we know. And honestly, it's
He
like
just checks the downloads.
don't take anything you heard last week 100% seriously, except for our beer tasting notes. Like anything, it's like we said, it turned out to be our April Fool episode.
Yeah.
A couple weeks late.
So as far as hookups, there was a lot of
Oh yeah.
made up stuff.
Well, sure.
Basically about how he's the villain.
Yes.
And we could continue that, in real life, he's quite a nice guy, and we're all good friends.
Yep. Well, I did have a hookup I did need to report for last
Oh,
week.
okay, good. I
Yes,
didn't write anything down.
No, I honestly feel guilty about this.
Oh,
Because
boy.
we were talking about the People Power beer that I had last week, which was delicious. But I mentioned that in 2017 they started the project, and that is not accurate. That is when they started the project in 2018, and what happened in 2017 was that the ACLU coupled up with People Power, which is a grassroots movement. The beers did not start until 2018. So I wanted to make sure that we were clear. We were a year off.
Okay, good to know.
We support the movements. The beers came later, but beer can support a movement, and I feel like I will drink in support of many movements.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty forgivable hookup there.
Yeah, I know. But I just want we aim for precision in all instances on this podcast.
Is that what we do?
We do. I will add to Huck's hookup thing about how yes, every encounter prior to last week has indicated me that Nutpool is a very nice guy. I don't know if he wants us saying that here. Who knows? He might try and break in again and prove us wrong. So, but yes, I have in previous he's always been very nice. And he did bring some great beers.
Yeah, he did.
In fact,
oh yeah,
that's who knows? I might have even wound up with the Sideburn Highway this week because that's another one of those great Fifth Hammer beers. They not actually at Story Beer and Cheese Ditmars at 35-11 Ditmars. They not only did this special giveaway, but they got in a whole lot of Fifth Hammer beer, and they did sort of a mini tap takeover, which I think is still going on there. So they have at least 3 or 4 things on tap there from Fifth Hammer, one of which is Sideburns Highway, which I still haven't tasted. So I have to go there sometime this week and do it. I do want to add another thing to hookups, unless this is already on your list.
I don't have anything written down.
Because if you listen to the show and then you saw what I posted in our various things, you'll notice, and I have to say it because I said it multiple times, I was so excited about all the extra cameo appearances and the extra pours that I stopped being able to count because I very gleefully stated on more than one occasion, you made it a 7 pour show. It was an 8 pour show.
It was 8.
It was an 8 pour show.
Whoa,
so
whoa.
I can't let myself off the hook for that one. It was an 8 pour show, which I think is
how did we get to?
Is amazing.
You had 2, I had 2,
and Nutpool had 2.
Nutpool had 2,
so
and
that's
then
6.
of course Beer
7.
Wonder had 1, and
7.
so Wheat Lightning came in with her Laugh Blonde.
Yeah,
yes. And while Cider Girl did show up, she did not show up with a beverage.
That's
she
true.
Did. We don't have any cider in the house right now.
And if any of you looked at our Instagram story, the sound bite I put on for Wheat Lightning was about her beer and certainly not about her.
By the way, if people missed that,
I got that.
They might be feeling left out. If they want to find us on the social medias, where should they look?
Well, I don't know if they can find that one particularly. That's the thing about
Instagram
that
one's
stories.
gone. That one's gone.
Instagram stories disappear. So
exactly.
that's a secret between about 8 of us.
But if they don't want to miss out in the future, where should they
look? You should go to our Instagram feed is where those always. I think they might show up on Facebook as well. I'm never sure what
you can link them.
What.
You can link them, yeah.
But it's at the Beer Vengers, and you can find that at Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. But the stories, I've been scoring all of our beers every week, and so I should say that yes, I did not choose that song for her, but I definitely chose Nutpool's song for him.
And
the second
fit.
One,
it was
the Janis Joplin song, yeah,
yes,
okay,
very appropriate.
It's Cry Baby.
But, right. That was good.
But we love you, Nutpool. But yeah, and also you can email us at thebeervengers@gmail.com. And keep showing up at those places. If you want to subscribe and like us, then more people will know who we are, unless you want to keep this just a secret between us. But
yeah, don't tell your friends.
No,
don't tell your friends. Don't tell your friends unless they're cool like you.
Yeah, right, man.
That's true.
No,
well,
we're before in a few weeks. Unless everyone stops downloading, we're going to be closing in on 1,000 downloads.
No kidding. How about
help
that?
us get there fast. Yeah.
Well, Well, in terms of weekend beer stuff, I am excited to report that the Randolph rooftop is open. I have not yet visited because, of course, I had to flee to the state of Wisconsin. But I have every intention of heading over very soon to check it out. So hopefully next week, as we have our important weekly meetings, I will be able to inform you of the glory that is the Randolph rooftop in the neighborhood of Dumbo in the county of Kings, where my undisclosed location is.
Wonderful.
Yeah, well, now that we're all double vaccinated, that's definitely something we should start doing. I know, Huck, you're going to be out of town for a bit of time next week. The next time we're all in town, we should all be fully vaccinated with like the 2-week thing on top of it. So,
yeah,
if my math
May
is right,
May is going to be our month.
May is the month. May is the world's month.
I will definitely. I mean, my
Look at a Maybach.
I want to get back to the Pony Bar.
Oh yeah.
Yes. I do think that would be a great pilgrimage for the Beer
right?
Vengers. See, with the glass already.
Well, and that fits in with,
pilgrimage.
again, that fits, we're rotating back around to our 420 theme. Incidentally, by the way, this is a really good beer. It's definitely a 14% that feels like 14%.
Okay.
It's a sipping beer. That boozy thing is just like you have a sip and you savor it, and it's great. And I was
This one's the opposite. This is what they call a lawnmower beer. You get it
exactly.
You just get her down.
And our Midwest
Very refreshing.
IPA, to the surprise of no one, is going down at a moderate, considered, relaxed pace. It feels some minor urgency, but it's not working that hard.
Look at the lacing on that glass too.
I know.
It's interesting, of course, because
nice clean glass.
This is the very first 420 where cannabis has been legal in the state of New York.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
Weirdly, I was reading some of the rules on that today, and apparently it is. I mean, of course, it's still legal to go to the Pony Bar's happy hour at 420, which I love that the Pony Bars always have their happy hour at 420. So that's part of the theme as well. The strange thing is, it is not illegal to buy it, but it is still illegal to sell it in the state of New York.
Of course,
yes, of course.
But you can only be charged with that if it's witnessed directly, if it's something like that. But here's the other thing I thought was kind of interesting.
It's not illegal to possess it, I suppose, at this point.
It's definitely not illegal to possess it as long as you're under 3 ounces.
Okay.
Also, they have added things to the list of things where you can get it prescribed for.
Oh, that's right.
Because when New York State first made it medicinal marijuana legal, it was very, very limited to people and they're like maybe only 3 things. Now they've expanded that, so even though you won't be able to just go to a store and buy it until they have all that for like maybe a year and a half or something like that. If you can if you have anxiety, you can get a doctor to prescribe you that. So,
well, there you go.
Do you guys can you think of any other like 420 themed beers? The big obvious one I know of is Sweetwater.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Right.
Which, full disclosure, I am, I
own
stock in
Georgia?
that. I think it's Georgia. Yeah.
Well, but
I always get that on the airplane.
Oh, they have that on planes, huh?
Delta always has that one because that's a Georgia beer, I believe, right? Is that right?
I think so, Georgia. I feel like I've had it on JetBlue, but
okay.
I don't drink beer on plane usually, but I've had it on a plane.
Well, I mean, just when we're thinking about like cannabis, just as a general thing, we've got a little bit of cannabis in our beers sort of tonight because hops are a second cousin of cannabis. Now, people have attempted to use cannabis in place of hops, and while it does work, it does not give you the effects, let's put it that way, of pot in its own way, but they are related to each other, and that's why oftentimes when you smell hop pellets separate from the beer, it does kind of smell like someone's been smoking pot in wherever they've been brewing.
Yeah, and they look like weed buds too.
They really do. Yeah, when you blow up, so they're friends with each other, both our beers and our weeds.
Yeah, it's interesting. This Wicked Weed had one that was a little more on the nose. They actually made a stout a couple years back called Weed Brownie.
Oh, nice.
I know there have been plenty of beers that have used hemp.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Nothing that's blown up that's gotten real popular, but certainly there's been experimental craft beers that have, and because that's a grain, right? or would it be considered a plant? So I guess you would use it more in place of hops.
Yeah, they would usually use it as a crossover for hops, as a flavoring agent for that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And
so
it does give off some of the same flavors, but it's not quite the same as what we expect from the hop plant. Apparently, you don't quite get as much of the juiciness that you can get from like a Citra or something along those lines.
Yeah, it's funny. The reason that I own a little bit of stock in Sweetwater is specifically because about a year ago, I bought some stock in a Canadian cannabis company called Afria.
Oh,
Good for you.
And to be part of, so they could sort of make inroads into the U.S. without actually, because they obviously couldn't sell their regular product. They decided to buy a cannabis friendly brewery to so they could get their toes a little into the U.S. market. So they bought Sweetwater.
Oh, all right. I mean, that tracks. That's a good way to go about it. So
I haven't had that. It's funny. I don't know if it's just because I don't want to just to be too much of a me to pushing something that I have a stake in. But we have not had Sweetwater on the show. Maybe we'll change that soon.
And they're independently owned.
They are. Yep, they're
they're owned by Afria.
Oh, you just said that, huh?
Yeah, it's they're. I mean, but they're not owned by a mega brewery. They're owned by a Canadian cannabis company.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I missed the connection there. I'm fading away, kids.
I know.
I'm about ready to play the old theme song and call it a night. But
I was going to say
what I could do is also take a nap. If you guys want to keep talking, just wake me up and I'll come in and play the song.
I mean, I have to tend to the state of Wisconsin. I do feel the weight of my responsibilities here to save the entire state from questionable beer. So,
that's going to be that's going to be a big project.
I know. And the entirety of Lambeau Field in Green Bay needs some work.
The whole country needs that.
Well, true. And, notably today, we hopefully made a step in the right direction.
We're making inroads.
Yep,
I did also want to briefly mention, of course, as I mentioned last week, that I got my full vaccination.
Very exciting.
I'm almost closing in on my first week post vaccinated. 2 weeks is when you can call yourself fully vaccinated. I also watched this really good movie because you're going to be seeing the Oscars maybe if you watch that sort of thing. And there's a fantastic Danish movie called Another Round.
Oh, right. Yes, you mentioned this.
And that the premise of it is, and apparently this is some actual theory, whether there's any credence to it or not, is the idea that as human beings, we are alcohol deficient.
Okay.
That we would all actually be more spontaneous and creative if we were always at a 0.05% alcohol level.
Oh.
It's
I see some logic to this.
Yeah, and so it's basically it's a bunch of friends who are high school teachers decide they are going to explore this theory.
Oh, that does sound a little more interesting. Okay.
It's not about always being hammered, although of course sometimes they do err on that side of it. But they all get these little breathalyzers so they can monitor it very closely.
Oh, that sounds. I would want to watch that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's. I think because it's a European film, it has a more nuanced take on it. Because I think if this were an American film, the end of it would be all of them learning their lesson and never drink again.
Like Leaving Las Vegas.
Oh yes, yeah.
That's kind of what I thought it was along those lines.
No, or like Lost Weekend or something like that.
Lost Weekend.
That's I thought that's something as well because it would be like a cautionary tale. No, it is all of these people are changed, and sometimes they go to some dark places, sometimes they go to some wonderful places, and it doesn't have a moralizing message at the end.
Okay.
If that's not, I mean, I think that's vague enough that it doesn't qualify as a spoiler.
Yeah.
That's making me want to watch it now. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell us of the services where we might be able to find,
it's on Hulu.
Such streaming. Okay, great.
I mean, it was released I think it was one of those things where it was released at some film festivals during on some of the European festivals right around the time that they were starting to open things up before they closed everything down again. It got a little window there. And got a lot of attention there, and it got picked up by Hulu, and and it's only like about 90 minutes long too. So
All
there's
right.
that. So it's if you want to see the lighter side of TV's Hannibal.
Yeah, that's right.
Mads Mikkelsen. It's funny because
Mads Mikkelsen.
I feel these Dutch and Danish actors, when they cross over into America, because they have these like sharp, angular Aryan features, they always play villains in American movies.
Right. That's true.
Like true. Rutger Hauer and Jerome Crabb. But it's interesting when you see the movie, he's a bland high school history teacher. Because everyone looks like some variation on him there, so it's not like you've got these sharp features, so you're going to be a Bond villain now, which he was in Casino Royale.
Right on.
But
we'll check it out.
But yeah, it's and who knows, maybe we'll have a future thing where we did talk about one point about maybe talking about having an episode about movies and beer. So maybe we'll be doing that soon. All right, so that's I see Hutch's.
We did talk about that.
Yeah,
I think that would be an excellent use of our Beer Ventures time.
Yeah, and I will also say I want to give a shout out to our friends at the Love of Cinema podcast, because I'd been meaning to watch it in general, but they did an episode where they featured that, and that's what sort of pushed me to listen to it, to watch it, so I could listen to their episode. So check them out. They're also on the Podbean network. All right, I think that's all we have this week.
We did it again, folks. We did it again.
Brought you the glory, saved you from bad beer. Drink more. Be good to each other.
So check us out next week. We've got all sorts of wonderful things coming up for our. We're well past the 6-month mark. We're going to keep going. We're going to give you a show every week, and we have some repeat guests and some new guests and lots of exciting beer ventures ahead of you.
And one last pitch. Make sure that you check out the Captain and Beer Wonders roommates on Who Wrote This Shit next week, where they'll be appearing. For more information, go to www.tslive.com.
Absolutely, yes. It's and they're also at hashtag, or they're at WWTS Live on Instagram. It'll be streaming throughout the week and beyond, but there's nothing quite like watching that show live streaming when it's on Monday night at 9 o'clock.
9 p.m. Eastern. Yep, exactly.
Because it's so much fun playing the home game where you can put in your own comments, and yeah, my roommate will be there, and he'll be proudly presenting. This is 14%er. They'll be proudly displaying the Beer Vengers logo, so you don't forget who we are.
Fabulous.
All right, I think that's the end of the show. And thank you all, and Huck, play us out.
See you next week. Hey, let me do that again. Sorry. Oh, with a beer Vengers, beer Vengers, beer Vengers.
We're the Beer Vengers.